everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of the Microgreen Thumbcast. Today, we're going to be going over how to measure your success in your microgreen business. And in this episode, we will be highlighting and going over defining success in microgreens, key performance metrics, customer satisfaction and feedback, challenges and how they impact your success, setting up and adjusting goals. That's a big one. Balancing between passion, profitability, and farming. And then we will have, as always, our live Q&A session. So you can go ahead and get them questions in whenever you want. Put them in there, and then we will answer all questions as members first, super chat second. And then if we have time, we'll get to anybody else's, any subscribers' messages. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe so you can comment on this and interact with us. And make sure you like this video. Share it out to anybody else. The biggest thing you guys can do is like this video to help us out. We really, really do appreciate that. So go ahead and hit that like button. And we also will be doing a giveaway tonight. And so go ahead and put in that hashtag Thumbcast. Make sure it's hashtag Thumbcast, not Thumpcast. Make sure you put it in right. That's the only way you have a chance to win. And we'll be spinning the wheel for anybody who wins. So, all right. So let's welcome in my co-host as always. Andy, how was your week? Unmute.
It was good. It was busy. We ended up having to buy a lot of bootstrap trays to
Yes,
make
I
up
seen
for
the
a big
picture.
order that we landed. Yeah, we landed last Saturday. So we got this rack and then a whole other rack behind that we had to clean today and get those ready to be used. So a lot of deep trays, which we're not used to, but we got to get them for some of the stuff that we're getting ready to grow starting this week. So it's gonna work out good.
What are you growing in deep trays?
At the moment now we're doing the bull's blood, of course,
Of
in deep
course.
trays.
Yep, yep.
We also grow our basil and celery in deep trays, and part of the big order we just got, there was a lot of basil being added every week. So, which gave us an
Awesome.
excuse to finally get some of the actual colored deep trays, which we've never had before. So,
Yes.
kind of nice.
Nice. Add some
My
color in
employees are
there.
going to be excited. Yeah, exactly. It's always just been the black deep trays and the top and bottom trays, so they're going to be happy to see some color. Give
Awesome.
us some options.
Awesome. Yeah, we our big thing we did this week was we finally moved over the walk-in cooler over to the warehouse and not transporting stuff back and forth and doing all that and using the small reach in. So it's going to be much more quicker flow and everything else for us. So after 4 weeks, it was time to get that done. So it was a late Friday night, but it was well worth it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to make things a whole lot easier.
Yes, already is. Don't have to try and squeeze a big bins in there, doing mixes and all that stuff. So that's
Nice.
very nice. All right. So let's get into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is defining success in microgreens. So success is different to everybody. And when you define it for your business, it's going to look different for everybody of what you define it is and where you're at in your level. I just talked about when we started out, our biggest measure of success was once we could produce quality products, grow them right and grow quality products. Long before we even started selling, that was success for us, number one. And then getting good yields, working on that. So that was a big thing for us as well. And then obviously selling. And when we sold to the customers, that was a big success when we first started selling and get your first sale. So that's the third biggest success for us is going on. And next was when we actually became profitable 6 months in and was running a profitable business at that point and being able to turn it into a full-time business. So that was the biggest thing for us in defining success for microgreens business for us. Andy, what about you when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, our goal was to eventually get at least one of us full time, which we got to, which was great. But the biggest thing for me, I think, was just freedom. Having the freedom to do what we want to do when we want to do it. I mean, we're able to go to different people's events and all kinds of different things. So it's really nice, and only because of employees have we gotten to true freedom. Where we can literally take a week, 2 weeks off if we needed to, and know that the shop's going to get taken care of. So that's only recently happened. But that was really my main goal, was just to get us to the point where one of us could do this full time. Now the next big goal is going to be getting my wife to be able to do it full time as well. But we've got quite a bit of salary to make up for that. So
Yeah,
we'll get there eventually. Hopefully the next like 2, 3 years, she'll be able to
nice.
leave her job and either come join me or do her own thing. We'll see.
Yeah. Either way, she'll have the freedom to choose that at that point. So that'd be
Yep.
big.
Yep. Exactly.
Awesome. Um, so that's what we did when we first made it, obviously, and then the biggest success when we were able to get our own warehouse space, 4,000 square foot, and move in here and be able to expand the business at that point. So that was the next biggest huge thing for us. So and Andy's obviously got another success coming with moving into another new commercial space coming up. If you
Yep.
guys haven't seen on the Facebook group, make sure you follow his group over there. He's posting stuff all the time about that.
Yep. You get to start the whole process all over again, unfortunately.
It's part of
Not
it,
quite
though,
as crazy. Yeah, not quite as crazy as being a retail store, but
yeah,
it's still a lot of plumbing and electrical that needs to happen before we can really get in there and go crazy.
and not as crazy as moving everything from the basement up and out and tearing it
Yeah,
down, and
no.
you got
Yep.
to do all that.
Yeah, unfortunately, none of our racks fit up the stairs, so we had to disassemble every well, not that we had many at the time, it was only about 6,
Still,
so it wasn't too bad, but this is gonna be a lot easier rolling right out the front door, right into the back of a U-Haul, take a day for micro acres, lesson
hmm,
that we learned very easily, so I'm
yep,
sure you guys did the exact same thing, I believe, when you moved too.
yep. Did the exact same thing. Wrapped them up with plastic wrap. Left them on the saying. Just disconnected the lights. Everything was still on there, and just rolled them on
Yep,
there. Rolled them back off. Hooked them back up here. Good to go.
yep, that's definitely our plan as well,
Yep.
for sure. That's why if there's any, posts or shelves that are still sitting around, they're gonna get turned into a shelf just so they can roll out the front door. We
Nice.
have to carry them all.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's a good fun success stories going on. So this business can be successful if you work it for sure. Um, then obviously, as people come back, that's success. When they keep coming back, you keeping your home delivery people or whatever, or your farmer markets people, you're seeing them come back. Your grocery stores are continue ordering. That's the success level too. Different ways to measure success. Everybody's going to be different, like I said, but definitely it's something that you want to work on and have goals for your success, which we'll talk about goals here in a minute. But definitely want to do that. So definitely, success are different, and it's going to be different for everybody. So let's talk about the importance of setting clear goals and objectives. So without a clear goal, you're never going to. It's going to be very hard to be successful if you don't have a target to go to, a goal to get to. It's going to be very hard to be successful because you never know where you're going or where you want to go. Now you might have a goal set, and that goal might change, and you may need to move that goal. But at least you had a goal and you're going for it. But in this business, you got to be willing to change. In any business, you got to be willing to change that goal and reset that goal from time to time. We reset our goals all the time. We
Mhm.
may be, trying to get this goal, but now, okay, this isn't working. Let's set another goal and work on that. We were going after home deliveries in the beginning, trying to set that goal, and we wanted 100 home delivery customers. That was our ultimate goal. That changed once we got into figuring out home deliveries and what a pain they are to deliver to 100 people, to deliver and pack and do all that stuff and keep them 100 people, because you're going to have loss on retention of that and everything else. So to me, that was just a pain in the butt and everything else to do. So, Andy, what kind of goals were you setting, or how
Yeah, I
did you
mean,
do that?
our we didn't have any specific number set up. Our original goal was to try and get about 50 home delivery people. We made it to probably like 35-ish, somewhere in that range when we first started. It took a bit, but at the time, there wasn't anywhere that we either had to deliver or we offered pickup, and that was a big mistake because we were offering pickup at our house,
Hmm.
and it was on a Saturday, and we basically had to sit there all day and wait for somebody to show up. And then when they didn't show up, they'd say, "Oh, can I come tomorrow?" And then guess what? You're waiting around all day Sunday, for them to get there. So finally, we eventually just pushed everybody to do delivery. And then that way it's just a whole lot easier instead of sitting
Yep.
there all day, potentially for 2 days, waiting for people to show up. You get in your car, you drive for a couple hours, you drop off everything, and then you come home. We found that to be a whole lot easier, just streamline wise. I mean, it's more time, obviously spending gas and things like that, but you're saving a ton of sitting around and waiting for folks to show up. Even if you give them a window, say, oh, between 11 and 3, you need to do your pickups. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. They're just going to come when
No.
they feel like it. So we definitely push delivery, which is most of how we do our business now. But as far as our like overall, stuff that we were trying to do, or initially it was to get into some grocery stores, which we did, and then we started getting to restaurants, which we really enjoyed, and then we started recently getting into distributors in this past year, and now that's really our big target, with kind of restaurants and grocery stores as a secondary target. But we're also getting ready to move into the new space where there's a lot more people, and a lot of local people that are a lot bigger believers in microgreens than where we're living right now. So I'm going to try and reinvent that, subscription process with the locals again to try and get some of those folks involved. I mean, we're definitely a diversified business as far as how we spread our things out on purpose. So that way we're
Yes.
saving a little bit of money on the distributor side and the restaurant side. We're losing a little bit of time and labor on the grocery store and direct to consumer side. But ultimately, if COVID 2.0, whatever decides to come along, then at least we'll have something to where I know. Yeah, don't participate, please, all of you.
Yes. Stand up.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, definitely. And you want to make your goals realistic too. Like you can't
Yeah.
have never sold anything and say, "Hey, I want to sell $10,000 next month in business." It's probably not going to happen. Then you're going to get discouraged, and you're going to stop the business, everything else. So make realistic goals. Like I said, we just set a goal of making $1,000 a month in sales, and we didn't think we were going to hit that in the first month. We were hoping to hit it by 6 months. We hit it in a few months, which is great. Again, then we moved that goal up to be 6 months that we would be doing this business full time and be debt free. So that's what we set up. That was our goal, but you have to make it realistic. So we started 1,000 in sales a month is what our goal was. We hit that in our second month. Actually went a little past it. So then we set a different goal. And now the way we set goals is I don't even think about it in sales, thinking about it in racks. I have 18 racks. They're 95% full. Now I got 6 more racks ready to put together and everything else. So I want to go get the business to fill them 6 racks. And if you're doing that, you know how much business you're getting, but it's just, hey, just build more business, more business, more racks. It just works better for what our mindset is. So I don't have to think about numbers. I just think about racks and filling them up. So that's what we do. That's our new goal setting that we've done. So definitely. Anything else on that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, and if you have that goal of, hey, I want to make $10,000 a month, you're not going to want to do it in 1 month
No.
because it's going to cost you a fortune in equipment,
Yes.
supplies, seed. I mean, it's amazing how even a couple $1,000s a month account can add up in supplies and everything. So just keep that in mind. Unless you've got a whole lot of money just sitting around, with nothing else to do, it's going to be very expensive to get to $10,000 a month. I mean, I know we've recently seen someone in one of the microgreen groups. They went out and bought a ton of racks. It's like 7 or 8 racks that they're starting out with.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a lot. It's going to take a while to fill that stuff. I mean, you can be very aggressive and fill it for sure, but it's start small, let it build on its own, get confident with what you're doing, and then work your way up. I mean, once you get to the level, where Mike and I are, and where Robert is, and things like that. I mean, you can take on a big client and be able to absorb that pretty quickly. I mean, you may have to buy some more supplies pretty quickly, like we did. I mean, all these, trays that we had to buy, but we already had a lot of the other supplies already ready to go. We have a ton of seed, a ton of racks, a ton of lights, everything else. So it's just a matter of having to get what we needed to fill that new order. This only added 100 trays a week, which only sounds like 100 trays a week, but some of that stuff grows for 3 weeks. So it's really 300 trays a
Yeah.
week, for some of that stuff. So, think about how much space 300 trays actually takes up in the long run. It's just things like that you have to be able to be cognitive of, because ultimately, if you go from 0 to 10,000 a week or 10,000 a month, you're going to be really struggling to stay up. You're going to have to hire some people. I mean, that's a lot. It's a lot of work to take on all of a sudden. So, take your time, let it pay for itself, and build as you go, and build
Yep.
at a pace that you can handle.
Yes, this business will pay for itself if you let it, and
Yep.
if you build at a slow pace. Like we started with 2 racks, we got out of a restaurant that closed down for $50. That's where we started. Very, very small. So you can do it that way. You can go and buy racks brand new if you want to and everything else. But we just went on the cheap and got it done and built our business that way. The lights didn't even fit the shelves right. It is very, very rudimental, but it worked. Obviously, we are here. We're in a 4,000 square foot warehouse now. So it works. You can do it many different ways, but don't go spend your life savings of getting started in any business, and not this business either. Spend what you can afford to lose, is what I always say.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about key performance metrics. There are many ways to measure your success in business. Some of the essential metrics for measuring success in a microgreen business include gross revenue, which that's your top line. That's how much you sold. That's not how much you made. Your net profit, your profit margin, that's the money you're bringing in, actually. Market penetration, how much are you in that market? How much are you getting that market? How much more room do you got to grow in that market? New accounts, You always want to be getting new accounts because you're going to have accounts drop off. So getting new accounts all the time. If you're not growing new accounts, you're probably dying. Customer retention goes into keeping the customers, keeping all our home deliveries customers. Basically, from 6 months in, we haven't lost any. We haven't really pushed that business, but we haven't lost any customers in that. Our grocery stores, we haven't ever lost a grocery store at all. Our restaurants, I think we've lost one just because he went down to minimal business hours and was closed on our delivery date, and he just canceled that because of that. But that's the only restaurant we've ever lost. That goes into customer satisfaction, making sure your customers are happy, asking them questions. Are they happy? Is there anything better you can do? Ask that question all the time. Hopefully, it's always no, you're doing great. But hey, yeah, this is product's not going as well, and everything else, and find out if it's not going well, and change it up, make it better, change it to a different product. Your market reach, how much are you reaching out in your market, and your brand awareness. I've talked about this in the past, but people ask for our products when they're talking about microgreens. They ask for itty bitty. That's what you want. You want people asking for your products. That's building that brand and brand awareness and everything else. So these are ways to track your thing, and there's many ways you can go in to track them. Andy, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I would add is, upselling customers as well. I mean, if you've got
Yep.
an existing customer base, even if it's grocery stores, restaurants, whatever, I mean, you can still, give them samples of something to try and see if it works. I mean, when we've gotten into a lot of the grocery stores we're in, we start out with kind of the basics, and then we'll slowly say, hey, you want to try cantaloupe this week? You want to try corn this week? You want to try, whatever, and just get it. We'll send them 6 or 12 or whatever, and let them play with it and see how it goes. And then we'll advertise the fact that it's there, on our social media pages, and try and get people to go and try it out. I mean, you've already got customers buying your product. Why not try and get them to buy something else, and tack on top of it? I mean, it's way harder to get somebody brand new to start than
Yeah.
it is to upsell somebody that's already buying something from you. So, send some extra samples to those chefs that you're dealing with that love you. I mean, you never know.
Yep.
It's an easy way to add additional business without having to add additional clients. So, just something to think about.
Definitely. You can always add products for, especially for chefs. I mean, if you come up with something
Yeah.
good, a mix or a new product, you're starting to grow cilantro or something like that, you definitely can add on to restaurants. They always like pretty stuff, so keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about customer satisfaction and feedback, and the way to measure these and everything else. So let's focus on customer satisfaction. You want to keep your customers happy. If they're not happy, I mentioned a little bit earlier, making sure they're happy. Ask the question: is everything going good every once in a while? How's the product? Will you leave me a review? Stuff like that. Ask for that. Ask for that feedback for them. It's huge. Getting that feedback from them is going to be huge. One thing I could recommend as a book is to do that is Raving Fans. You guys can check this book out. Obviously, do have a link. We'll drop in in there for the link on that for Amazon if you always want to check that out if you don't have that already. But read a quote from it. Your customers are only satisfied because their experiences are so low and become no one else is doing it better. Just having a satisfied customer isn't good enough anymore. You really want booming business if you haven't created a raving fan. So you want a raving fan. You want somebody out there just blasting you and telling everybody how great you are. Great book. Read it many times. So if you want to check that out, definitely do that. Andy, you got anything?
No, not really. I mean, you said it pretty straightforward. I mean, you definitely want your people to enjoy, your product and enjoy your experience. I mean, I hand out my business card all the time to
Yep.
customers, and they're like, and I always point it out, this is my cell phone number right here. Feel free to, call me or text me. And they're like, really? You want me to call and text you? I'm like, yeah, I want you to call and text me because I want to find out, I want to make sure when you're talking to somebody, you're talking to me. That
Yeah.
you're not calling and talking to one of my people that work here and they may be a part-timer that doesn't know anything. I'd rather them talk directly to me to know, hey, can I get 2 pounds of sunflower this week? I'm going to be the one that can answer that question.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that all my customers work directly with me. I mean, ultimately, you're the person in charge. No one is ever going to care about your business as much as you. So your best bet is always put yourself first whenever you can, if you have the time, obviously.
Yep.
But that's how you get really good customer service. Make sure people are taken care of. I mean, I have a chef that randomly pops up. He always wants a pound or
Yeah.
2 or 3 of sunflower, and say, can I pick it up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning? Sure, you better believe it. I'm going to meet him here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Make sure he's happy. And even if I don't have to be here until 11 or 10 or whatever in the morning for the shop to open, but I still make sure that guy's taken care of because eventually And he actually came in one week, a couple weeks ago, and said, "Yeah, I had another guy approach me about microgreens. I told him to get lost because you're the only guy I'm ever going to use."
Nice.
It's because I take care of him. So eventually, when I can hook him up with an actual subscription,
Yeah.
and keep him on a weekly thing, which would make things a lot easier, then
Yeah.
at least he remembers how much I took care of him, and that's the hope, is to get him on there long term. So I always make sure people are taken care of. If they're happy with you, they're never going to go anywhere else.
Exactly. Yep. That's a great story. When they say get out of here, I'm happy. I don't even talk to you because I'm already happy with the guy that I have. That's awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, returning customers at the market, if you're going to a farmer's market, ask them how they like stuff. If they like the product that they got last week. If you can, my wife is very good about this. It kind of remembers what they got last week. And, you can be like, oh, you're getting the broccoli again, or you're trying something new. That goes a long way. Then they feel special, so just little things like that. So definitely keep that. We've been on the other side, but the other side, restaurants have to stop buying products if they do. You want to make sure why they're doing it and keeping them happy. So you'd want to keep everybody happy, get that feedback ahead of time instead of like, hey, I'm done. I'm no longer ordering from you. And then you're like, why? What did I do? You never knew, but you weren't doing something right. Maybe you came at 12:30 and they just didn't want you to be there at 12:30. And you never knew that. And they never said anything because a lot of times they won't. A lot of times you're coming at 12:30, they're not going to have time to say you anything to you. And then they just drop you because somebody else is going to come in at 3 o'clock and they like that better, So just find that out ahead of time. All right. Let's talk about challenges and how they impact your success. Business, in microgreen business and regular business, any business you do, anything you do in life, there's going to be challenges that come up and impact your success. So these are some things that are going to happen. Some of the most common challenges I see are selling before you're ready. I see that all the time on the Facebook group. But I got a chef that wants this. I've never grown it. He wants it in a week. Well, that crop takes 4 weeks to grow. That's going to be a challenge. Obviously, you don't want to sell things before you're ready. Selling something again here, same thing. Selling something before you've even grown it. They don't even have seeds, and they're trying to sell stuff before they even know how to grow the stuff or before they have seeds or know anything about it. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want, and please do watch our YouTube videos on how to grow and everything. But your environment could be slightly different, and that crop could be slightly different in that environment. So you have to find out before you sell it. You should be growing before you sell. Not getting help. In anything you do in life, you need to have a mentor. Whatever you're doing in life, you need to have a mentor. You can check out Andy's one-on-one courses he's got going on. You can obviously check out our microgreen business coaching as well. And we are releasing a one-on-one coaching thing here also, but it's going to be over a 4-week, 4-session thing. There's no one-on-one, just 1 hour, because I just don't think that's enough. But you guys can check that out as well. Definitely find a one-on-one. They either one of you choose, or you can choose us both. Get multiple mentors. You don't have to just have one. You can get different ideas from different people on how to do stuff. We're pretty similar in what we do, but there are differences in different ways that we do stuff. So you can definitely get different thoughts on it. So either one can be a right path for you, or both could be the right path. Andy?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I've learned a ton from Mike already since we started this, and I know Mike's learned some stuff from me
Yep.
since we started this. So,
Yep.
it's nice to have people that are at our level to be able to reach out to. And I know there's quite a few of you guys in the chat and in the Facebook group and stuff that reach out to me on a regular basis, and Facebook and private messaging, things like that. I mean, I try and help you when I can, for sure. So it's like, take advantage of that type of access. I mean, you guys have two people that are sitting here that are willing to help you, at a minimum through Facebook messaging, at a maximum, preferably through coaching of some kind. So that way we can really get into the
Yep.
details. But you're definitely, in any business, you're going to run into challenges. We've ran into plenty on our own. I mean,
Yep.
poor Thomas, in our Facebook group, he posted earlier about a farmer's market he went to. I think it was yesterday or today. And the weather ended up like destroying his tent, and he had like 19 trays that he had nobody to sell them to. And
Oh man.
it's part of the process, unfortunately. So
Yep.
that's where you have to kind of think outside the box, try and be creative, try and find ways to get rid of those things, if it's through Facebook marketing, or put them half off, or take them around to anybody who's willing to take them and try them as samples or whatever. I mean, don't let product go to waste as best you
Yeah.
can, but it's something you have to be able to be willing to deal with when the time comes. I mean, when I went on vacation and came back and we had 40 something trays of amaranth that were completely dead from being miswatered, I had to come up with a solution on the fly. So,
Yeah.
and we didn't miss a single order. Even with losing 40 something trays, we still
That's
made it work.
awesome.
Every single thing still got delivered, and no customer had any clue it even happened. And it's because we were able to think on the fly and make those decisions that you have to make. And sometimes
Yep.
they're not fun. I mean, sometimes you're
No.
robbing Peter to pay Paul,
Yep.
and it's the way it goes. I mean, if I have one customer that's been with me for 2 years and another customer that's been with me for 2 weeks, I'm going to prioritize the new customer, because the other customer is probably going to understand if I send them a message and say, hey, we're going to be a little short on XYZ this week. I want to make sure that new customer's happy. So, but ideally you try and take care of everybody. So,
Yeah.
and hopefully that never happens, but there will be challenges. You'll almost run out of seed. You'll almost run out of dirt.
Been there.
Something will come up to where you're like, oh crap. I mean, yeah, last week when we landed this big order, I'm like, well, I guess I got to go spend almost $2,000 on trays,
Yeah.
and everything else that goes along with it. So, it's just one of those fun things, but you got to be able to think on your feet and stay ahead of the game. It's a game of chess. When you're managing a
Yes.
business, it's a game of chess. You're not looking at what can I do right now. You're looking at what am I going to do 4 moves from now.
Yep.
So just try and really think way ahead, way ahead. I mean, the
I
day
like.
we moved into this space, we started looking for a new space, like literally. For a year and a half, we've been looking for a new space because we knew we were eventually going to grow out of this place, and now it's too late.
Yeah.
Even though we spent all that time and knew ahead of time, we still didn't plan far enough ahead. So, that's the point. Just stay ahead of the game.
Yep. I like that analogy of the chess game. Making 4 moves ahead. Making this move
Yep.
for 4 steps ahead. That is awesome. Like we said, all businesses are going to struggle from time to time. You're going to have hard times in your business, and you're going to think it's over. The business is down. It's going to happen. So you just got to work through that and push through that challenging times. It's going to make you appreciate it more when you actually get through them, and you get through that, and then you're going to know how to prevent the future challenges of that to never happen again. But you're going to have challenges, like we've been to the point where seeds needed to come in today, not literally today, but like I'm planting today. The seeds are on the truck. I know they're coming. Like I hope they get here in time. Kind of thing. We've been there, and that's part of starting the business in the beginning. You don't have the capital because we did it debt free. You need to have that, sometimes it is, you need to have that in. You had a bigger order, so they took more seeds than what you thought you were going to have. And then you got to get them in so you can plant. That stuff's going to happen. We've almost ran out of soil and we found solutions. We had to go locally. We had to drive an hour and a half to go get the soil. This was, we built this business during COVID times.
Mhm.
So there was a supply chain issue. So we had to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes to go get the soil, the medium to grow in this and change up what we were growing in and everything else because that stuff wasn't available. So it happens. You got to be willing to adjust on the fly in any business, especially when you're growing plants. They're not always going to act right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even recently we had, a decent amount of amaranth seed set aside, but then it just went you couldn't get it anywhere. I mean, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
completely unavailable everywhere.
Yep.
And we were getting close, and we grow like well over 100 trays of amaranth every week.
That's crazy.
So, I reached out to all my sources. Luckily, Josh from Greener Harvest was able to hook me up with some amaranth seed. But it's like that's the kind of thing. I mean, we just started planting an additional 80 trays a week of amaranth just last week. So all of a sudden, I'm like, well, I guess I need a lot more than 20 pounds of amaranth seed. I'm gonna go through that pretty fast.
Yep.
So so we're getting what we can at the time, but now luckily the amaranth's all back in stock. But just that kind of thing, man, can completely screw you over.
Yep.
If you're down to like say 5 pounds and you're like, oh, this is no big deal. I'm only planting a couple trays a week, and the next thing you know, you got 80 or 90 trays added to your rotation. You're gonna have to find some seed real fast. So
And even
definitely
if
throw
you
you off.
like, we do a sheet every month. We go through and we count all our inventory of seeds.
Yep.
We do that every month. But if you get an order in like that, you got to adjust an order ahead of time. But if you can stay on top of it, what your average use is per month and everything else. We might have that sheet in our coaching course. I'm not sure. But a seed inventory thing, so you can put it in there how much you're going to do. It calculates it and tells you how many weeks you have on hand. And then hey, do I have 8 weeks on hand? Because we try to keep it at 8 weeks on hand at minimum. I would like 12 weeks, but at minimum,
Yeah.
8 weeks. If things start going crazy or something going on in the world, I'll push that up to being like 6 months. on hand, just to make sure we can still keep the business going and be able to get them back in. But right now, 8 weeks works just fine. Everybody usually had seeds by then if we're running out and everything else. So that's the goal that we do on having on hand. Do you do anything like that, Andy?
Yeah, in our software, it tells you how many. It's the exact
Nice.
same thing. It actually tells you exactly how many weeks you've got left. But when you go from planting like 10 or 15 trays of amaranth a week up to over 100, suddenly
Yes. You have to order.
those number of weeks drop dramatically.
Yes.
So yeah, we have ours set to 12 weeks. So we always try and make sure we stay at least that far out. And we also have an inventory check built into the system that, every single week it reminds us to check the seed if it needs to be checked. I mean, obviously, if we have a couple 100 pounds sitting around, then we just set it to be check again in 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. But that works out great. So it keeps my employees on top of what's going on, keeps me on top of what's going on. I don't even have to be there. I don't have to check the inventory myself. They do it, and it shows up in the system, and it's got a little
Nice.
notification on there. It says, hey, you need to order some stuff. And then I go in and find out what it is and place the order. So, and it makes it so much easier, with people like Josh, where now you can buy it in the country because we're buying a
Yes.
lot of our stuff from mums, which is usually like
Yep.
a 4 to 6 week time frame, from
Yep.
start to receiving your actual seed because they're so insanely behind.
And then
So
sometimes you have to call them and say, "Hey, does my order go through yet?" And
yeah,
they're like, yeah, let me get that in."
yeah,
Um,
yeah. They're super nice, super, super
yes.
nice. I don't ever want to talk down about them,
No,
but
they're
they
just so
are
busy.
so disorganized and so, so busy. So, but they're the nicest people on the face of the earth
Yep.
when you call, typical Canadians, I guess, because that's how it seems to be. But,
They're very
it's,
nice.
yeah, very, very nice. And they have awesome seed, but it's nice being able to get stuff from Josh now locally that I know is
Yep,
high quality. So we definitely go that route as often as we can now.
for sure. And is that going to be available like in that program, Andy, when you
Yep,
release it publicly?
yep,
That's going to be in there, seed inventory.
yep, yep.
Awesome. We
Yeah,
might
I'm
have be
hoping.
something coming up soon on the channel here talking about that program. So stay tuned for
Yeah.
that as
Yep.
well.
If you're not in my microgreen group already, get in there because that's where we're going to be posting
Yep.
about, probably going to do a live event and do a little demo of the software and then potentially pick the name finally. I know we're down to
Yes.
3 names at this point. So,
Ooh.
yeah, it should be pretty fun. So try and figure out some creative way to do that.
Yep.
So that way you guys can check out the software. And then by the end of that live stream, it'll have a name.
Yep.
So make sure you keep an eye on that.
That should be coming up at least in hopefully next few weeks or so. So
Yep. I just
maybe
got a couple
sooner.
more things I need to get done
Yep.
beforehand.
Yep.
And amongst everything else.
Sure.
So I'll post a link in the chat so you guys can join the group. Make sure you get in there. There's also a link in that group to be able to get into the beta testing software side of it. So if you want to be a beta tester in the software, find that post in the. I should probably pin that post at some point.
Yeah.
But dig down through, just search for posts that I put up. It'll have the software beta testing link. There's another Facebook group that I'm doing just for that. So if you want to get into the beta testing side, get in that group, get into the beta testing piece, and that way at least you'll have early access to the software once I feel it's ready to go.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, I have a lot going on, people. I'm trying to go as fast as I can.
It takes a while to build something out like that. I'm sure we'll all be
Yeah,
patient. So
yeah,
and it'd be done right. So when it's released.
yeah.
So
That's it. That's why I'm very meticulous when it comes to my coding. So, I want to feel really good about it, and my team is going to beta test it before anybody else even sees it, essentially.
Andy,
Because once we make the switch, we're not going back.
yes.
So,
Andy's
I
going to
mean, good
eliminate
luck.
all my spreadsheets I need. So
Possibly.
most of them anyway. So
Yeah.
all right. Just one more thing about setting and adjusting goals. We want to talk about this real fast. So when you set a goal, it's it might be need to be adjusted, like we talked about earlier. But providing insight to setting here of goals for your microgreen business, we use SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timing is how you need to set your goals. These are very important to do it this way. That way, you make sure you have the right goals. SMART goals are the way to go. You just can't throw something up and say, "I want to do this." Well, what time frame do you want to do that? Is it measurable, or is it attainable? Is that realistic? Like, if you want to do $10,000, let's say $5,000 in sales, but you only have one rack and 20 trays to be able to grow. Well, that's not a realistic goal. It's not attainable. You're not going to be able to do that unless you buy a whole bunch more stuff. So, setting that goal of doing $1,000. Yes, you can do $1,000 in that rack. I know a lot of people out there also say, I want to say real quick that you can make $500 per rack. Well, is that growing peas? Is that growing amaranth? Is that growing sunflowers? what crop is that? Because they're all going to be profitable in different way and making in different ways. And yeah, here's a little sheet on SMART goals that you guys can use. So knowing what you will do and how, having precise ways to monitor, having ability to visualize the path, being attainable and visible, realistic, and having a timeline to achieve that goal. Very important. So it can be a long-term goal. Hey, I want to do $10,000 a month, but set that for a year down the road, 2 years down the road, whatever it is. You want short-term goals, medium and long goals, and long-term goals. So you can keep on it going down the road and everything else. So using that SMART goal is a very way we do it. And then obviously still stay flexible in your goal as your business evolves. We've changed our goals many times. We've hit them, or we just said where we're going to go. So we changed them very many times as we go along, as I'm sure Andy has changed his goals many times. This goes along too.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a constant moving target,
Yes.
and the hope would be that it's always moving away from you, so you're having to shoot
Yes.
further.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we said like we had some goals this year that we wanted to try and make a certain amount of money by the end of the year, and then obviously we've found the new space that kind of took priority for the moment. So,
Yeah.
we're slowing down our sales a little bit in an effort to try and get that space up and running because then we know next year we can crush everything, because we'll have plenty of space, we have the team to do it, and it's just a matter of buying equipment and supplies and seed, and that's it. We'll make it happen. So next year is going to be a very, very big year for us, but we got to get out of here first. Once we do
Yes.
that, it'll be golden. I will be selling every day.
Sell.
Yep.
And that's what Andy's goal is going to be, sell and get that and be able to pay for that. So just wanted to go over real quick on that SMART goal, better way of doing your goals. So I just wanted to go over that real quick and at that for you. So talk about balancing passion, profitability, and farming. Passion, stay true to your vision. What is your vision of your business? Emphasize the role and passion in growing a farm. So what is that for you? Financial stability. So you want to be stable and financial in this business. If it's a side gig, making money or whatever it is of going and making an actual business, you need to have money to pay for your business every month. You should at least be a month ahead on paying what you need to keep the business running. We try to do 3 months. We're trying to build up to 6 months on that. That's our goal, 3 to 6 months of having business money to pay for the business, so you never have to worry about that. If you have 3 months of paying for the business set aside in your account, then you have 3 months to make it up if something happens and you don't, you need something, you can make that up. You lose a business, you lose something. Big client counts on you and doesn't buy anymore. Well, you have 3 months to go get that business because you still have the money to pay for the business to keep it running. That's why a lot of businesses fail, because they don't have the money to pay their bills past today or next week. So if you have that set up, then you're going to be able to stay in business and get new business to take care of that. So scaling up responsibly, like we said, we scaled up by turning profits back into the business. The business made money for the first 6 months. We just turned that money back in, turned it back in. We didn't take any money out. We built it back up and bought new stuff, bought new supplies. That was the biggest point where we built up. Like we were just buying stuff every time we had the money come in from the business. And again, keeping that money to pay for the business as well. That's how we did it. Andy, you got anything?
Yeah, when we started, we did the same thing. I mean, it was just dumping everything right back into the business essentially. I mean, we were both working full time at the time. My wife has had a great job for a long time, which makes things a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm able to do it the way I'm doing it, which I would not
Yes.
recommend to anybody.
Yeah. This is
But
a unique situation.
yeah, it's very, very unique, and it's only because my thought was, okay, we've got the money set aside, just in case. And basically, my plan for my approach, and this is not something I would recommend unless you're in this position, is basically just to build a super, super strong foundation that I can then just blow the business up on top of. And we're almost there. I mean, literally, once we get out of here and once we get into the bigger space, I've got plenty of room to sell. It's going to be insane at that point because I will have all the time in the world to be a sales guy, all the time in the world to be a marketing guy,
Yeah.
because I won't have to focus on the farm at all because I've got good trained employees that can do it for me. So, obviously, those employees aren't cheap. I mean, it's by far the most expensive thing I have every single month by leaps and bounds. It's almost, twice as much as my rent is for this place. So, If you think, oh my gosh, my leasing payment's going to be the biggest thing I'm going to have to pay, you're absolutely wrong. Like an employee will cancel out that number easily. One
Yeah.
single employee at minimum wage will cancel out the amount that you're paying for rent. So, just some things to keep in mind that you've got to be able to cancel out what you're bringing in, as far as new people and the expenses that you're adding in. So, and obviously you can adjust their hours up and down, but obviously if you hire somebody full time and they say, hey, sorry, you have to go part time, they're not going to stick around. So once you have somebody part time, you can keep them at part time, bring them up to full time when you need them. Versus hiring somebody full time right off the bat, you're going to have to keep them on for 32 to 40 hours every single week to keep them happy, even if there's not 32 to 40 hours worth of stuff to do.
Yep.
So that's something that we've actually run into recently because now that the store isn't open, which used to be 11 to 7 Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday, very easy to fill that time with employees. Now we're in and out an hour and a half on a Monday and 6 hours on a Tuesday and 8 hours on a Wednesday, and it depends
Cut
on the
off
day
a
of
lot
the
of
week.
hours.
There's a lot less stuff to do time wise, than there used to be, where we'd be sitting around waiting for the doors to close at the end of the day. So now I'm going to have to be really creative with my employees to make sure my two full timers are still getting full time hours. That just means they're probably going to have to work more days per week. And I told them that I was like, if you want the hours, this is the only way it's going to happen. So which they're fine with, thankfully. But I try and balance it out as best we can. So, but if anything, now that's giving me even more freedom to be able to do what I need to do at the new space,
Yeah.
things like that, because I can get away from here almost completely because I've got them working pretty much all the hours that are required to get the farm tasks done every day. So that's the one nice plus. But again, that's a unique scenario. The way I've done it is not normal. It's not advisable. It's what works for us, and it's what will absolutely be crushing it next year once we
Yep.
get out of here and get into the new space. And I'll be in a great position to really, really, thrive with building the business. So it's a decision we made, kind of thinking it from day one, and that's why we're where we are. So,
Yep.
but yeah, it's a whole lot easier doing it Mike's way, believe me. A lot less expensive.
Yes. Yes. And to speak about employees, like if you need one full-time employee when you're getting ready to hire an employee, hire two part-timers.
Yeah.
If you need 40 hours, hire two people that are going to work around 20 hours. If one of them doesn't work out, you can move the part-timer for a moment to full-time, say this is
Yep.
temporary until I hire somebody else, and then move them back down. And then when you need another full-time employee, hire three maybe. So you can have one full-time, two part-time going into it. And then that way you're always protected. You have an employee if somebody leaves. Are you protected if your business slows down a little bit? You can back them down some hours and it won't hurt them. You can take a 20-hour employee down to 15. They're probably going to be okay with it, 15, 16 hours. You can
Yep.
take that full-time employee down to 32 hours. They're probably going to be okay with it and stick with you if it's temporary. But if you take, like Andy said, you take a 40-hour down to 20,
Yeah.
they're going to leave.
They're gone.
You might as well just say you want to go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
That's what's
Or
going to
they're going to
happen.
find a second job, and that second job may eventually offer them full-time hours, and they'll come
Yep.
to you and say, sorry, there's no point in me working here 20 hours anymore. I can go work at this place full-time and only have to go to one job and one schedule each
Yep.
week. And, so yeah, once you get into employees, it can get interesting. So,
Yep.
drag that as long as you can, to try and do everything yourself or with a helper that,
Yep.
could be your wife, could be your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Make sure that you get some help from the beginning because you'll need
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
And you may need some part-time people right away. I mean, hire your kids, or a kid that you don't, a neighbor or something, to do the dishes or wash the trays. Or, I mean, that's like the easiest thing to farm out right
Yep.
off the bat. You just pay them, cash under the table or something if you have to. It's not like you have to get a full W-2 or any of that stuff for a 14-year-old kid or something washing your trays.
That is not
So
legal advice by any means.
yeah, no, not at all. But it happens. Not to
Yeah.
say that we did it, of course.
No, definitely
No,
not.
no, no. We
Would
just we
never.
just paid our daughter who now works here full time, and she is a W-2 employee. So, but that's an easy way to just start that process of having an employee is just to get somebody to wash the trays. That's the worst thing, and then eventually they can help you with harvesting. Eventually they can help you with planting. All the big jobs that take time. It's nice to have that extra helper when you need it.
For sure.
That definitely can help for sure. Especially, I mean, like my back's been jacked up for like the last 3 weeks, and I had to lean on my employees quite a bit to have them come, help me with stuff. So,
Yeah.
it's just part of the gig.
Yeah. It definitely is. And keep in mind when you have an employee and say you're paying minimum wage at $13, which is here, which we pay everybody more than that, but just using that as a number, they don't cost you $13 an hour. It
Yeah.
costs you more like $18 to $19 an hour when you figure in taxes, everything else, if you get benefits, whatever. They're going to cost you somewhere around $18 to $19 an hour. So make sure you can afford that, because I know if you're new in business, you don't understand. You think it's $13 an hour, $15 an hour. It's more than that, because there's
Yep.
taxes you have to pay as a business for that on top of it. You basically pay whatever they're paying. Plus, if you got to do workman comp, you got to pay that out of your pocket, out of the business as well. So just keep that in mind. They cost more than their hourly wage. If
Yep.
you've always been an hourly employer, just an employee, you don't understand that. So just help you out there.